All right, we're on to part 5. We're back upstairs with our good characters. Harm children, unthinkable, Butterscotch repeated, shaking her head, dark ears flapping. The forces of good and evil are always present in the world, Gibbons said, putting one finger along the side of his big snout, a gesture that he frequently used, and by which he meant to indicate the truth and the importance of what he was saying. Sometimes evil wins, he told them somberly. Gibbons was good at being somber. Too good at it, Amos the bear thought. There was a danger that Gibbons would demoralize the others. Amos quickly descended from the workbench stool to join his friends on the floor. Gibbons was the oldest toy in the shop, and in fact he was the first creature that Uncle Isaac had stitched together decades ago. Gibbons was not meant to be sold. He was the only Oddkin that would never serve a special child. He was a great scholar who knew everything about lore and history of the Oddkins. If something unexpected happened to the toy maker, it was Gibbons' sacred trust to carry his knowledge and the details of magic toy making to the new toy maker. He took his responsibilities seriously, and his brow was permanently furrowed as a result. Some of these bad toys may still be hiding here, Gibbons said, scowling at them over the tops of his reading glasses. He was dressed like a character out of a story by Dickens. Amos had read a little Charles Dickens, so he knew about such things. Like a Victorian scholar or an attorney wearing garters on his shirt sleeves, a dark suit, wide tie, peculiar fingerless gloves. His authoritative appearance and voice held the Oddkins' attention. Uncle Isaac believed that below the cellar was a subcellar where the creations of the previous toy maker were stored, but he couldn't find the entrance. Maybe because it was guarded by some dark magic. Skippy the rabbit looked down at the floor. Bad toys underneath us? His nose twitched, his tail twitched, his bent ear twitched. Nasty toys? Very nasty, Gibbons said. We can deal with them, Amos said firmly. Sure, if they come around here, I'll tromp them, Burroughs said, and he stomped one of his little elephant feet on the wooden floor for emphasis. Squish 'em is what I'll do. Yes, sir, squish, squish, squish. And I, Patch the cat, will skewer them. Patch was dressed like a cavalier in a silk shirt with wide sleeves, a green wraparound vest, a broad leather belt, and maroon trousers tucked high into his boots. He wore a broad-brimmed hat with one side of the brim pinned to the crown, giving him a roguish look. The sword in his scabbard, on which he now rested one paw, was made of highly flexible rubber and could skewer no one. However, Patch believed himself to be a swordsman of great skill, and if you believe in yourself, almost anything is possible. If you believe in yourself, even a rubber sword can be a good weapon. I suppose I could bite them, Butterscotch said, although I'd regret having to do such a thing, even to a bad toy. Her teeth were no sharper than Burl's tusks, and she was clearly distressed by the thought of applying even soft fangs to the enemy. Swept up by the courageous statements, Skippy said, and I will fight those nasties too if they show their faces around here. You, said Patch with obvious doubt. Just what can you do to scare them off? Skippy blinked, wiggled his nose in thought. I could thump them with one of my big flat feet, he declared. Patch drew his rubber sword from his scabbard, stroked the blade as he said, Skippy, if those black-hearted scoundrels are truly nasty, they just might cut off your foot you try to thump them with, and they can use it as a good luck charm. Skippy's ears stood straight up, even the bent one, and his eyes went wide. Lightning flickered in the windows, and the tree shadows leaped in the blood-red twilight. Thunder clattered through the sky. The velvet penguins began to twitter nervously. The cats stood with their backs arched, and the dogs looked around worriedly, and two of the teddy bears hugged each other for comfort. On the sofa, the frog croaked unhappily and spoke of doom in a deep, rumbling voice. Before the Oddkins could talk themselves into a state of panic, Amos took control of the situation. We must set out for Colleen Shannon's toy shop now, without delaying another minute. Yes, Patch said, before those evil toys climb up from the subcellar to try to stop us. Most of you will stay here, Amos said. If worse comes to worse, you'll defend the toy factory from whatever might crawl out of the subcellar. A small teddy bear named Ralph climbed onto the low table in front of the sofa and plucked a spoon from the empty china cup The cup had held Uncle Isaac's morning coffee. Ralph took a dozen quick practice swings with the spoon, scowling with the utmost seriousness while slashing at the air in front of him as if he was wielding a deadly mace instead of a piece of silverware. Amos was not confident that the factory could be defended by the spoon-armed soldiers, but he knew that his friends were gentle by nature and could not be expected to be fierce fighters. They would have to just do the best that they could. In his most solemn, deep and bearish voice, Amos continued, "If Levin Toy Factory falls into their hands before we can reach Mrs. Shannon and convince her to take Uncle Isaac's place, then an evil toy maker might take over. The name would be changed back to what it once was." "Charin Toys," Gibbon said. "And if that happens, it'll be too late. The factory will be lost for many years, and bad toys will be made and sold for decades, and countless children's lives will be darkened and ruined." Ralph the bear swung his spoon again, and the cats hissed. One of the dogs growled deep in his throat. A pair of the monkeys, one corduroy and one velveteen, began to gather up paperweights, pencils, and figurines, and small vases that could be thrown at the attackers. They piled these missiles in one corner of the room. As the monkeys worked, Amos said, "Now, I will lead a party of Oddkins to Miss Shannon's toy shop. I'll need true, selfless, and courageous companions, stout of heart, swift of foot, strong of limb, quick-minded and dependable." "Gosh, Amos, that sounds like me," said Skippy the rabbit. And the S sounds whistled slightly between his big buck teeth. And that's the end of section 5. Have a great day.